Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Gerald here with your weather forecast on this Monday, and we've got a lot to discuss today, from a very active scene in the tropics to a bit of a heat wave ongoing right now and some relief for some folks. Now, I'm going to break all that down for you in today's video. I do apologize about not having a video out yesterday. Unfortunately, I was just quite busy with some school stuff going on. We had our student organization showcase, and our Storm Club was out there, doing our best to kind of do some recruiting, which actually went very well, and very happy to be there for that. Now, today was actually my first day of classes, so that is also something pretty exciting in my life that happened today. And let me know in the comments something exciting going on for you. Always love to hear about some good things going on out there, and I think it's always good to kind of spread the joy out there a little bit and just talk about some of the good things going on. Now, speaking of the comment section, and I'll also comment, let me know where you're watching from, why you're watching, and what you're seeing out there in your neck of the woods. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely consider doing so and like the video. With all that said, though, let's go ahead and jump into your forecast now. So looking out there right now, kind of really zoomed out here for much of the United States and the tropics in the Atlantic, we've got a lot going on. We've got what is likely very soon to be a new tropical storm out here in the Gulf of Mexico that will make landfall in Texas tomorrow morning. So very important to talk about that, and we definitely will. We also have another tropical storm out here in the Eastern Caribbean rather, and this is going to impact Hispaniola here in the next couple of days before eventually getting out into the wide open Atlantic, and that's when we need to watch it here back at home, as it may kind of try to curve back a little bit and get kind of close to our neck of the woods here on the East Coast. Luckily right now it doesn't look like too big of a deal, but we'll definitely have to monitor that, as we know things absolutely can and will change. And then we have another big area to watch out here in the Atlantic that could cause trouble down the road. So those are the three main things in the tropics. We also have another tropical storm that is dissipating out here over sections of the Atlantic, and another post-tropical storm now over the Atlantic, but both of those really aren't much of a story maker, so we're going to kind of move on from those. Now, looking back home right now, you can tell we have this big old high pressure I've been telling you about that was on the way, and we've got all these clouds kind of wrapping around that, and that is also what is helping to scoot this area of moisture, and again, what is likely to be a tropical storm here pretty soon into sections of Texas tomorrow morning. So we'll definitely watch out for that, and that will definitely be some beneficial rain for some folks. All right, so zooming in here towards the United States a little bit, looking at our active alerts out there, as well as some radar imagery. Again, a lot going on right now. So this is that big heat dome we've been telling you about that was on the way, and sure enough, here it is, with millions of Americans under excessive heat warnings from Minneapolis all the way down towards Houston and Austin, Texas. So really covering plenty of the country here. Now, back east, where the heat isn't quite as bad, all thanks to being kind of on the edge of that high pressure system, not too much going on. It's been a pretty nice day out there, pretty dry, and definitely getting hot, especially in the southeast, but not quite enough to hit that criteria for excessive heat warnings or heat advisory. So definitely some good news there. And then back out west, still dealing with some of the remnants of Hillary as that wraps around this big high pressure system, and will eventually, the remnants of that actually work all the way through the northern Great Plains and through sections of Canada. So again, pretty interesting stuff going on there. Alright, so the first thing we want to talk about here is just really the overall pattern we're in and what it means for you. So again, this is that big high pressure I've been telling you about, and it is again really cranking up right now, really getting to kind of the peak of it right now in terms of how many people will be impacted. Some of us it will get a bit worse, but some of us it'll actually get a little bit better from here. So again, very hot out there as this big ridge of high pressure is sitting over the middle of the country. Now, you'll notice as I move this ahead, it kind of still hangs out over the middle of the country, but begins to weaken a little bit. And you'll notice up here in the northeast, we even have some blue working in on the map, or a little bit of troughing with maybe some cooler air coming down from Canada. Excuse me. So that will be the big story in the east. I do think we're definitely going to get some relief here later on in the week. Now, before we get there, we still have some very hot temperatures to get through and some very dry weather. But again, I think going into this weekend and even the second half of this work week, things might improve pretty drastically for us folks in the east. But while that's ongoing, it's still going to stay plenty hot out in the plains. So just to show you tomorrow's forecasted high temperatures, because again, it is going to be a scorcher out there. Widespread temperatures getting above 100 and even 105 here through the middle of the country, where again, we do have those excessive heat warnings for a lot of people. And even very warm down here to the southeast, going for 100 in Columbia, South Carolina tomorrow, which is, just pretty average for you folks down there in Colombia, unfortunately. I can't imagine living there, but that's just me. If you live there, congratulations. We're all happy that you're taking one for the team. So again, thank you very much for that. But again, what I'm trying to say is it's going to be very hot tomorrow for places like Columbia, even up towards Charlotte, Raleigh, getting well into the 90s, and likely getting very close to 100 in places like Atlanta and Birmingham tomorrow as well. So again, just very hot as that high pressure continues to set up shop. Now, to show this to you in terms of temperature anomaly, again, very above average here in the reds over the next couple of days, but you'll notice we're going to get a bit of a backdoor cold front that begins to work in, going really starting Tuesday afternoon in the northeast. You'll notice this cooler air begins to show up, which is definitely a good sign. And then after that, that may even sneak down into the mid-Atlantic, getting as far south potentially as a place like Charlotte and Raleigh, which could see a bit of nicer weather for our Wednesday. Could be quite nice before that ridge builds back in and takes over the pattern. But you'll notice going through the long range, we continue to get shots of this blue showing up in the northeast, meaning we could get a couple of troughs that try to work kind of on the backside of this big ridge that could bring some cooler temperatures and also likely a little bit more rain, at least definitely compared to our folks in the central part of the country. I'm going to take a sip of my water real quick. Okay, sorry about that. I got something in my throat. Anyway, so back to the weather. So taking a look at the precipitation over the next 72 hours, again, it's going to be very dry, and we're going to have a bit of this ring of fire pattern that we talk about a lot of times this time of year. Again, that's pretty much just precipitation that rides around the ring of this high pressure, if you will. So, again, we're going to get a lot of rain here in South Texas over the next couple of days, all thanks to that, again, what is likely to be a tropical storm by the time it hits tomorrow morning. And also getting some rain back out west into the northwest from Hillary, and that will even wrap all the way down into the northern Great Plains and eventually come back out here over the Great Lakes region, which could help to bring some rain over the next 72 hours. Now, you'll notice as I bring this out into the weekly time frame, a lot more rain showing up here on the East Coast. So I think we get a little bit of relief potentially from this big ridge out east. Now, again, for you folks in the Central Plains, still looks very dry over the next 7 days. We could get a little bit of wraparound moisture from that disturbance in the Gulf. That could potentially help out a little bit over the next 7 days, but overall speaking, still very dry in the central part of the country. Now, there is some good news to this. Again, I talked about some of those blues showing up on the map. Well, here's another great way to look at it. Over the 6 to 10 day period, we are expecting a higher probability of below average temperatures for folks up in the northeast, down through the northern mid-Atlantic, and through the Great Lakes region. So, again, could see some signs of fall out in this part of the country begin to take hold. At least in terms of the weather. Obviously, it is still August, so still going to be hot, but definitely could be a little bit cooler for this time of year, which would be a nice touch. But with that does come a higher chance of some rain here. Again, really right along the eastern seaboard from Maine all the way down towards the Savannah and Jacksonville area. And that rain should also continue back out west, but kind of sandwiched between these two areas. Again, very dry weather for the central part of the country for the 6 to 10 day time period. All right, so that's what's going on at home. Let's talk a little bit about the tropics now, because again, there's a lot going on out there. As you can tell, we got plenty of circles and shaded areas and X's all over the map to talk about here. So let's go ahead and break this down for you a little bit. So the biggest threat right now is kind of this number 9 you see on the map. Again, that is likely going to be a tropical storm. Maybe by the time you're even watching this, that's going to impact southern Texas tomorrow morning, bringing some rain. Now, let's go and do some process of elimination here. Gert here and Emily, just cross those off. Again, they're not very important right now and don't pose much of a threat to anybody. Now, what is a bit more important right now is Franklin out here in the Caribbean and this invest out near the Cabo Verde Islands right now. So, again, need to watch those two areas pretty closely. So let's start with 9 here, as this again is likely to become a tropical storm by tomorrow morning and make landfall here in extreme southern Texas there near the Brownsville area. And we already have tropical storm warnings up because of that, and even tropical storm watches areas further north of there. So again, it's going to be pretty short-lived here. It's going to move quick. It's going to hit, likely bringing some pretty gusty winds with it, but really the rain will be the big story here as this brings some very beneficial rainfall, although also could cause maybe a little bit of flooding that we need to watch out for. So let me go ahead and run this map ahead for you a little bit. So again, this is going to strengthen, and by the time we get into about really the very early morning hours of tomorrow, and really I would say starting about midnight tonight, those outer bands of this will begin to move onshore for, again, you folks kind of near the Brownsville area, but it won't make landfall likely until about the time the sun is coming up tomorrow, maybe a little later than that. And again, bringing with it a lot of rain and definitely some gusting winds with it, especially there closer to the core. So definitely need to watch out for that tomorrow, but we'll take the rain. We just kind of hope that it doesn't do too much flooding, but the rain will definitely be pretty nice for you folks down here. And again, the bulk of that rain will be tomorrow morning and afternoon, but will stay scattered in nature through the day tomorrow and potentially even into early on Wednesday, and maybe even Wednesday afternoon could still see some scattered rain from whatever is left of that on the backside coming in off the Gulf. All right, so National Hurricane Center going for pretty widespread 2 to 4 inches of rain here in southern Texas. Isolated spots could get 4 to 6 inches. So again, a very good soaking that I'm sure a lot of you will be very happy to hear down in that part of the country, which will of course also help cool it off a little bit because it has just been so hot for you folks down there this summer. All right, so talking about Tropical Storm Franklin now. Franklin likely to become a hurricane here over the next week. And again, expecting impacts here towards Hispaniola, where we have tropical storm warnings up for the southern Dominican Republic as well as Haiti as this begins to kind of move ashore. Going into tomorrow night and into early Wednesday. Now, after that, it's going to get out here towards kind of the extreme eastern Bahamas. Could cause some, tropical storm conditions out there as well before eventually gets out here kind of stuck between Bermuda and the Bahamas, and that's where it will likely become a hurricane and could become maybe even a bit of a strong hurricane. Now, what happens after that is a pretty big question mark, but our latest model guidance suggests that hopefully and likely at this point, it should stay offshore of the United States, but I do get a little concerned seeing some of these members kind of getting a bit closer towards, the lower 48, and our operational runs have also been kind of on this side of the ensemble chunk a bit as well. So we'll have to watch it. Right now, I'm not expecting any impacts, at least directly from this here along the East Coast, but definitely over the next couple of days, just continue to tune back and watch as we could see this shift a little bit closer towards the United States potentially, and could even bring some impacts to places like North Carolina and the Northeast. So definitely need to watch that over the next couple of days. All right, so let's run you through some ensemble members here to end off the video. We'll start with the European ensemble. Again, the European model, pretty nice and trusted. This is what would be Franklin by the time we get into our Wednesday and Thursday here. Again, likely near the Bahamas at that point. And then the other area to watch is that invest out in the Atlantic we've been talking about that could begin to form by the time we get into the middle of this week. Now, bringing this out ahead into time, again, the main story here on the European ensemble would be Franklin, again, getting kind of close to, the United States and Bermuda, maybe stuck in between the two. So at the very least, I think we'll see some, surf problems and maybe some riptide issues to worry about. But depending on how close it gets will be a very big question mark on our impact. So if we get some of these ensemble members that bring it very close to places like the Outer Banks, we could have problems. But again, right now, most of the models say it'll kind of just hopefully kind of split Bermuda and the United States and not cause too many issues. Now, as for the other area in the Atlantic, the Invest, most of these ensemble members bring this kind of mostly to the idea of going out to sea. We'll see a couple of other members do bring it, potentially closer to the United States, but that's further out there, and we have plenty of time to watch that one, so we will continue to do that. Now, another area to watch here, about a week out, there has been some signs that maybe some energy starts to kind of come out of the Caribbean a bit and could get up into the Gulf. If that happens, we'll definitely have to watch it, as conditions could be favorable for development here, and that could bring impacts to potentially places of the eastern Gulf Coast. But again, that's out there, so we have some time to watch that as well. All right, so taking a look here at our GFS ensemble members, again, pretty same idea here overall. Franklin will be the big story here in the middle of the week, and also whatever area is out here in the Atlantic continuing to move generally towards the United States. GFS ensemble members, again, some of the GFS members get a bit close to the northeast and not so much the southeast, but again, we'll watch either way. We'll have to just wait and see. And then another kind of interesting thing here on the GFS ensembles is way out in time here, about a week to 10 days. A lot of members have some kind of system out tracking generally towards the United States in the middle of the Atlantic. So, of course, we'll have to watch that as well in the medium to long run. Alrighty, so that's all I've got for you on this Monday. Again, hopefully the video was of use to you, and if it was, definitely hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. But with that said, again, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.